Hello and welcome. You are watching UATV News with me, Ksenia Bugay. Let's start with the latest developments. The Russian aggression against Ukraine was discussed the day before in the White House. U.S. Assistant to the President for National Security, Jake Sullivan, held a telephone conversation with colleagues from the Nordic countries. The parties considered ways to strengthen transatlantic security and agreed that it is necessary to try to achieve de-escalation of the conflict in the east of Ukraine through diplomatic means. But if this does not help, they are ready to impose unprecedented and tough sanctions against Russia. Mr. Sullivan and his counterparts discussed their readiness to impose severe consequences on Russia if it engages in further aggression against Ukraine. They also underscored the importance of diplomacy to de-escalate the situation, including through the Strategic Stability Dialogue, NATO-Russia Council and OSCE. They emphasized their commitment to Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. From the statement by National Security Council spokesperson Emily Orn on the website of the White House. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba and Czech Foreign Minister Jan Lipavsky have agreed to restrain Russia from further aggression against Ukraine. The day before, they had a telephone conversation. Lipavsky confirmed that the Czech Republic remains a reliable friend of Ukraine and firmly stands on the side of the Ukrainian people in the struggle to defend sovereignty and territorial integrity. Besides, they have also discussed a joint visit to Ukraine of the Ministers of Foreign Affairs of Austria, the Czech Republic and Slovakia, which they plan to carry out in February at the invitation of the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine.
Jan Lipavsky confirmed that the Czech Republic remains a reliable friend of Ukraine and stands on the side of the Ukrainian people in their struggle to protect the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ukraine. The ministers agreed on joint steps to deter the Russian Federation from further aggression. Statement from the official website of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine.
Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba will take part in a meeting of the Ukraine-NATO Commission on January 10th. He informed about this on his page in social networks. Kuleba stressed that this is a part of a large-scale diplomatic effort to curb Russian aggression on the border with Ukraine.
No decisions about Ukraine without Ukraine. On January 10th, I will visit Brussels for a meeting of the NATO-Ukraine Commission, part of a wide diplomatic effort to deter further Russian aggression. Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine Dmytro Kuleba in Twitter.
Any further military aggression against Ukraine will have serious consequences. EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, Josep Borrell, announced this on the eve of his visit to Ukraine. He has already visited the checkpoint on the contact line with temporarily uncontrolled territories of Ukraine. My colleagues found out what outcomes can be expected after this visit.
This is Josep Borrell's first working trip abroad in 2022. He intends to underline the EU's strong support for the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ukraine against the backdrop of the escalating Russian aggression.
The aim of my first foreign visit in 2022 is to talk with European Union's Ukrainian partners, get to know their concerns and ways to resolve the problems. The EU cannot be an outside observer and will act firmly in case Russia commits new acts of aggression against Ukraine.
Josep Borrell, together with Ukraine's Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba, are visiting Donbas and the contact line. They are set to familiarize with the security situation. This will be the first visit to Donbas of the EU High Representative in 8 years of Russian aggression against Ukraine.
It is very important, at least considering that the European Union also plays a fundamentally important role here in at least one aspect. This is the coordination of efforts to create a new package of sanctions in case Russia goes over to some kind of forceful, large-scale invasion of Ukraine. It's the opportunity for Ukraine to deliver its point of view.
During the visit, the head of EU diplomacy intends to discuss humanitarian projects in Donbas, support for further internal transformations in Ukraine, as well as ways to contain Russian aggression and promote a peaceful settlement of the situation.
Probably this will be a confirmation of the previous positions on the support of the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ukraine with all the consequences. The question of the implementation of the Minsk agreements as well as the need of a ceasefire will be raised, as well as stabilization of the situation in the east of Ukraine, but we can hardly expect any breakthrough.
Experts note that Josep Borrell's visit is quite important given the background of the upcoming meeting of the NATO-Russia Council, which will be held at the level of ambassadors on January the 12th. There will be questions of European security concerning in particular the deployment of Russian forces near the borders of Ukraine as well as the possibility of Ukraine's membership in the North Atlantic Alliance. Reported by Vadim Kromer and Vlada Tsurkan, UATV News.
443 violations of the ceasefire regime in 3 days were recorded by the OSCE observers along the contact line. There were 399 violations in Donetsk region. Most often they shot in the area of the settlements Shirokine and Gnutove. During the same period in Luhansk region, the SMM recorded 44 violations of the ceasefire, including 23 explosions. The report was submitted for the period from December 30th to January 3rd. Meanwhile, the headquarters of the Operation of the Joint Forces of Ukraine reported that no violations were recorded over the past day. Ukrainians were called to refrain from traveling to Kazakhstan due to the state of emergency introduced there until January 19th, and citizens who are on the territory of this country should refrain from visiting crowded places. This was reported by the Ukrainian embassy in Kazakhstan. Massive protests take place in the country. Demonstrations against the rise in gas prices escalated into clashes with the security forces in the central squares of many cities of the state. The protesters are taking the state administrations by storm. According to official data, about 140 police officers were injured, more than 50 civilians, 40 people were hospitalized. They say in the Kazakhstan opposition that the reason for the protests is the dissatisfaction with the authorities.
Внезапное вот это появление, такой новогодний подарок.
That was a kind of a New Year's gift for Kazakhstan residents. It has changed the situation, but that was the reason. In fact, they are angry with the deteriorating socio-economic situation in the country with fake elections. If looking at the chronicle of the events that took place in the evening in Almaty and at night, people gathered, but there were no excesses until the authorities began to use light noise and other special means, which simply puzzled someone, angered someone, and there is a suspicion that the National Security Committee of Kazakhstan agents were involved in this in order to create an extra reason for introducing state of emergency.
4,571 new COVID-19 cases have been recorded in Ukraine over the past day. 273 people died. According to the Ministry of Health, most of the new cases are in Kyiv, Poltava, and Lviv regions. Besides, over 100,000 Ukrainians got vaccinated against COVID-19 over the past day. Almost 600 Ukrainians have already received an additional dose of the vaccine, and about 2,000 citizens received a booster vaccine. In order to keep prices for socially important products, the government will support producers in the face of rising gas prices. The Minister of Agrarian Policy of Ukraine, Roman Leshchenko, signed a Memorandum of Understanding to stabilize prices for natural gas of Ukraine's own production for producers of flour and bread, milk, meat and sunflower oil. The document was signed by the heads of relevant associations.
Підписані сьогодні відповідні меморандуми.
Relevant memorandums have been signed, and the government has also adopted relevant resolutions of the Cabinet of Ministers, guaranteeing the Ukrainian-produced gas to Ukrainian enterprises with a margin of no more than 24% to meet the needs of economic entities, whose main activity is the production of foods.
250 million hryvnias, or more than $9 million of COVID payments Ukrainians spent on books. 210 million hryvnias, or almost $8 million to go to the cinema, train and airplane tickets on the third place. This is reported by the Minister of Economy of Ukraine. All payments were made within the frameworks of the e-support program. Officials plan to expand it starting the second half of January. Ukrainians over 60 will also be able to spend money on medicines. Desserts for health. Confectioner Andriy Yevtushenko from Kharkiv region has developed recipes for natural sweets containing no sugar or gluten. To create desserts, he uses berries and seeds familiar to Ukrainians. Our journalists have also tasted healthy treats.
This is our awakened sunflower seed. We wash it, infuse, let it germinate, and then, as soon as sprouts appear, dry it.
Confectioner Andriy Yevtushenko started germinating seeds and making useful desserts from them 6 years ago. At that time, he moved from Donetsk to Kyiv in search of work. At first, the man tried to make cakes with seeds and dried fruit, and later in Kharkiv, Andriy took up the recipe for sweet mixtures from berries and seeds that are familiar to Ukrainians.
The green buckwheat, hemp, flax seeds, black cumin, which we grow here in Ukraine, they are sold abroad to be used in some products, superfoods, etc., and we don't appreciate it.
This is Andriy's invention, Power Bar. It contains hemp seeds and other useful ingredients.
Dates, raisins, dried apricots, hemp, pumpkin, sunflower, currant. This powder will include droplets of rosemary and lemon for flavor.
Hemp seeds do not contain psychoactive substances. On the contrary, in folk cuisine and medicine, they are used for centuries as a valuable source of amino acids and vitamins. Yevtushenko, for example, treats with hemp milk.
Here's some fresh milk, just like from cow, but made of hemp seeds. This is how we do it.
Hemp and date milk is ready. It is very nutritious and delicious.
Now Andriy is developing new products.
We are planning to create sugar-free chocolate with various fillings, and we have a lot of ideas for fruit candies.
The man plans to make his business a family one and introduce his healthy sweets to the whole world. Reported by Vadim Kramer and Natalia Belokudria, UATV News.
That was our final story today. More updates on our official website, YouTube, Facebook and Twitter pages. Stay healthy and take care of yourselves.